Hello and welcome to another washing machine repair video. Apologies again to my arcade fans, but this needs fixing and I need to film it. Right, so what's happened is the machine stopped spinning at all, so there's no rotation on the drum. When that happens, the first thing I usually suspect is the motor. So basically the motor was located down here. I had to unbolt it, 2 bolts as you can see there, 2 silver bolts there, and disconnect this connector here. And then it just slides out. And here's the motor. Now, it's quite common, well, if you've had the machine for a few years and it's always been used quite a bit, for the brushes to wear out. So, first thing I'm going to do is check the brushes. Now, I've already just taken the screws out, as you can see, and here's a brush. Okay, now, on the brush, the carbon part here is spring loaded, and that needs to be pushing some tension against the armature inside there. So if we just put that back on a sec. Now when the brush is in position, if it's not pressing against them, pushing any spring pressure, which it isn't, as I say, I can line up the holes without any pressure, then that means it's basically worn down to the point where it can no longer touch the armature, so that needs replacing. So all you need to do is take the screws out, and then let's have a look how this one works. Gets your hands absolutely filthy touching these, because all the brush wears down, it turns into dust, and you get loads of dust in the floor. And now to clean that all out as well, I think this just slides off. I need to use 2 hands for this, so I'll do that in a minute. So yeah, basically just take that off and then order your new replacement brushes, making sure to get the right ones for your model. And sometimes you need to check the model number of the motor. It's on there. Just to make sure, just in case your model of washing machine had 1 or 2 different versions of the motor. And before we go fitting any new brushes, we need to clean up the armature. That's the armature there inside the motor, where the brushes go here and they push against this armature. Now obviously that's coloured in black, the black dust, which if you don't clean off, basically what can happen is it starts to arc and it will actually burn the brushes and wear them down quicker. So what I use is, first of all, a little brush off as much as you can, spin it, obviously spin the motor around to make sure you go all the way around the armature, and then I use some isopropyl alcohol. Now let's dip some of that in and give it a brush and then dry it off with a rag or some kitchen roll or anything like that. It's never going to look perfectly clean, it's never going to be shiny, brass original looking or anything. So just clean off as much as you can, just to make sure it's not going to arc and burn and waste the brushes. It doesn't look much cleaner on the camera, but it certainly is. I've managed to remove lots and lots of carbon build-up that was trapped in between the grooves in the armature. Now that should be ready to start mounting the brushes. Right, so I bought these Hoover original brushes. Make sure to get the original ones. They're literally maybe £5 more for a set of originals, but they last a lot longer than the cheap copies. I have tried the cheap copies and they're no good. Right, so I bought these from my favourite place, which is eSpares. Always good for washing machine parts. That's the signature yellow label. You can get these next day delivery from them, and they always seem to be in stock. That's pretty much anything you need from eSpares, so highly recommended company. So let's just take this out of the packet. When you get the new brush, it's quite often for the carbon part to be inside the housing. That's to protect it in shipping so it doesn't get broken. And there'll be a little plastic tab like this here, which we need to break off. I'm not sure if I can do that one-handed. It's just a little tiny tab, but it's actually quite tough. And once you break that off, I'll just do it off camera in a second. Once you break that off, that releases the carbon brush. Yeah, that's it off hand. Okay, so you get the brush like this. I've released the actual carbon brush now, which is spring loaded, as you can see. And you've got this beveled part on it. Now you need to line them up. There's normally a pair, like a left and right pair. You need to line it up so that this is the way it mounts this way. When it lines up with the armature, that beveled side is basically pushing flat against the armature, so that is the correct way around to do it. Now to fit the wire, it's a push-on terminal which goes on straight like that, and then you need to bend the terminal like so, and then this will clip into the housing. You can't really see it very well, but yeah, there's 2 clips there, and that pushes in there. That's how you do it. Now you've got to, well, okay, so that's the 2 brushes fitted. It's just basically a case of screwing them back down. Be careful not to drop screws inside the motor, otherwise you'll have fun trying to get them out. One thing I just thought about actually was it might have been a good idea to leave the plastic tabs on till the last minute, so I could put the brush in, screw it down, and then break off the tab, and then the brush would be released. I'm not sure if it'd actually be easy or not to get in there to do the tab, but obviously I broke the tabs off earlier, as you saw. So all you have to do is basically push it down with your fingers, squash it down, place the brush in place, and then screw a screw in, and then release the brush. It was easy enough to do anyway, either way. So that's that. So that's reassembled, and we just need to put it back in the washer, bolt it back in, connect it up, and then give it a test. One thing to remember is there will most likely be an earth spade connector which connects onto the motor next to the connector or somewhere on the body. Make sure you don't miss this out when you plug it back in. Now the next job to do is to refit the belt. And what I find is a good way of doing this is to basically put the belt over the motor. Oh, it's not going to play nice. Put the belt over the motor and then basically put it half on the wheel, and then with your hand rotate the wheel on the drum while feeding the belt over it, and then that should go on nicely. Okay, so we're all connected up and ready for testing. I'll switch it on from here. There we go. There you go, excellent, it's working. Now it's probably going to sound a bit grindy and it might be a bit sparky for the first minute or two. That's just the brushes wearing in. That's fairly normal. If it lasts more than a couple of minutes or one wash, then you may need to take the brush off and check where there might be something wrong, or the armature might have worn down too much or wasn't clean enough. So those are things to check. At the moment it's actually fairly smooth. I hear slight sparking, but that's fairly normal with these new brushes. Okay, so I can reassemble it, I think.